Do you trust beyond knowing? You know that question might sound simple on the surface, but when we dig deeper, it touches something that many of us wrestle with every day. Think about it. How many times in your life have you felt uncertain about what comes next? How many times have you stood at the edge of a new chapter, not knowing exactly what's going to happen, but still feeling that urge to step forward? Today, I want to talk to you about something that many of us struggle with: trusting without fully understanding. We've all been there, faced with choices, paths, and situations where we have absolutely no idea what the outcome is going to be. And yet, we still have to make the choice to move forward. To trust that, even when we don't have all the answers, there is something bigger than us guiding us along. It's one of the most difficult things to do, stepping into the unknown. You can't see the road ahead. You can't predict the future, but somehow you know deep down that you must take that step. And that's what I want to talk about today. The kind of trust that doesn't need answers but is willing to move forward anyway. We're living in a time where people crave certainty. We want to know the outcome before we invest the time, the energy, or the heart. But what if I told you that some of the most transformative moments of your life won't come from having all the answers? What if I told you that the greatest breakthroughs often come when you trust beyond knowing, when you step out in faith, not because you can see the entire path, but because you know in your spirit that it's the right move? The reality is that the unknown can be terrifying, but sometimes it's exactly what we need to push us into growth. And today, I'm here to tell you, you have what it takes to trust beyond knowing. You have everything inside you to step out into uncertainty and make something extraordinary happen. But it starts with believing, even when you can't see it. It starts with trusting beyond knowing. Let me share a personal story with you. There was a moment in my life when everything seemed uncertain. I was standing on the edge of what felt like a precipice, looking out into an unknown future. You know, sometimes when life hits us with a series of unexpected challenges, it can feel like we're walking through fog. You can see just enough to take the next step, but the bigger picture is hidden from view. For me, this moment came when I was facing a huge decision about my career. I was at a crossroads. On the one hand, I had a job that I knew. It was comfortable, stable, predictable. But on the other hand, I had a vision, a dream, a calling that was pulling me in a completely different direction. And yet, that path was filled with uncertainty. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know how things would turn out. The fear of the unknown was overwhelming. I remember feeling this deep tension inside me. On the one hand, there was a voice that said, "Stay safe. Don't rock the boat. Stick with what you know. At least you have security." But then, there was another voice, the voice of courage, that said, "You were made for more than this. You were made to take risks. You were made to step into something bigger than yourself." I was torn. But then I realized something powerful. I couldn't wait for certainty to take action. If I wanted to grow, if I wanted to step into the next phase of my life, I had to trust beyond what I could see. I had to trust beyond my understanding. I had to believe that, even if I couldn't see the entire staircase, the first step was still the right one to take.
So, I took the leap.
I left the security of that job, and I dove into the unknown. I had no idea what was waiting for me on the other side. It wasn't easy, and the journey was filled with challenges. There were nights when I doubted myself. There were moments when I wanted to quit. But through it all, I kept moving forward. And eventually, I saw how that one step, the step into the unknown, became the foundation of something greater than I could have ever imagined. Looking back now, I can see that it wasn't the answers that changed my life. It was the trust I had in the process. It was the decision to step out and trust that, even without knowing where I was headed, the journey itself would shape me into who I needed to become. That decision changed everything. And here's what I want you to take away from this. Sometimes, the biggest breakthroughs in life happen when you trust beyond knowing. It's not about having all the answers before you move forward. It's about having the courage to take the first step, even when the full picture is still a mystery. Trusting beyond knowing means believing in yourself even when you can't see the whole map. It means having faith that the next step will lead you to where you need to be, even if you can't predict the destination. And it's about recognizing that the journey is just as important as the destination. There are moments in life when we all have to make that decision, whether to trust what we can see or take a step into the unknown, trusting that something greater will unfold. The truth is, the unknown is not something to fear. It's an opportunity for growth, for transformation, and for discovering parts of ourselves that we didn't know existed. I want to ask you now, where in your life are you being called to trust beyond knowing? Maybe you're standing at the edge of a big decision, unsure of what comes next. Maybe you're waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect set of circumstances, before you make your move. I'm here to tell you, the time is now. The perfect moment will never come. The circumstances will never be perfect. But if you can trust in the process, if you can take that first step, you'll find that what's waiting for you on the other side is worth the leap. So, as we continue today, I want to challenge you to think about the areas in your life where you're being asked to step out in faith. Think about the moments when you've been held back by uncertainty and fear, and ask yourself, what would happen if you trusted beyond knowing? Let's dive deeper into this journey together and explore how trust can lead you to places you never dreamed possible. Because sometimes it's the unknown that holds the key to your greatest transformation. Foundation of trust. When we talk about trust, many people initially think of it in simple terms, belief. But trust, when you really dig into it, is much more than just believing in something. Trust is action. It's one thing to say, I trust you, but it's something entirely different to act on that trust, to take a step, to make a move, even when the road ahead isn't fully clear. Trust is the bridge between uncertainty and action. It's the willingness to move forward, even when you don't know where your feet will land. Think about it this way. Trust is when you jump into the unknown and believe that something will catch you. It's when you're standing at the edge, looking out at what seems like a vast emptiness, but you decide to leap anyway. You don't have a map, you don't have a clear path, but you have something more powerful than all of that. The belief that there's something waiting for you on the other side. That belief, that certainty, is what trust is all about. Now, let's get real about something. Trusting is not easy. It's not easy when we live in a world that thrives on certainty, on answers, on control. We've been taught that we need to have all the answers before we make a decision, that we need to know exactly where we're going before we start walking. But I want to challenge that idea today. Knowing limits you, but trusting frees you. When you know something, you're essentially holding it in your hand, controlling it, defining it by your own terms. But when you trust, you release control. You let go of the need to understand everything, to predict every outcome. Trust doesn't require that you know the future. It requires that you believe in something bigger than yourself, something that doesn't fit neatly into your understanding. Knowing keeps you in the comfort zone. Knowing keeps you safe. But trust is the force that propels you forward. It's the thing that pushes you into the uncomfortable, into the unpredictable, into the place where real growth happens. If you wait until you know everything before you move, you'll be stuck forever. But trust allows you to move even when you don't have all the answers. It lets you walk forward with faith that the path will reveal itself as you go. Think about how often we limit ourselves by our need to know. We wait until the time is perfect, the plan is clear, and the way is paved. But the truth is, the perfect time doesn't exist. The perfect moment to act doesn't come. And if you wait for certainty before taking a step, you might wait forever. Let's take a moment to reflect on the wisdom of the Bible. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." Did you catch that? Lean not on your own understanding. That's not just a suggestion. It's a call to action. It's a reminder that our understanding is limited. Our human minds can only process so much. We see things through a small lens, a finite lens, and it's easy to believe that we need to have everything figured out before we move forward. But the Bible encourages us to trust even when we don't understand. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. That's the kind of trust we're talking about, trusting beyond your own understanding, trusting that, even when the path ahead is foggy, God will guide you, trusting that even when you can't see the road, He's already making a way for you. This doesn't mean you'll always get all the answers. It doesn't mean you'll never face challenges. But it does mean that when you step out in faith, you're not alone. You're walking in the direction of something greater, something bigger than what you can see or comprehend. That's what trusting beyond knowing is all about. Releasing your need to control and letting go of your need to understand everything before moving forward. In Hebrews 11:1, we read, "Now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see." Here's the thing. Faith is the foundation of trust. And faith is not about certainty. It's about believing in something even when you can't see it, even when the road is unclear. Faith says, "I don't know exactly where this is going, but I trust that I'm headed in the right direction." It's about having the confidence to move forward, even in the midst of uncertainty. The power of trusting beyond understanding. When we learn to trust beyond knowing, we unlock something powerful inside ourselves. We unlock the ability to walk into situations that we once thought were impossible. We unlock the strength to face challenges we never thought we could overcome. Here's what's incredible. When you trust beyond knowing, you activate divine possibilities. You tap into a power that goes beyond your own abilities. You begin to understand that you're not walking alone. You're walking with purpose. You're walking with intention. And when you trust beyond your understanding, you create a space for miracles to happen. You create a space for growth, for transformation, and for things that seem impossible to come to pass.
Amen.
I want you to think about the people who have shaped history, the leaders who inspired movements, the innovators who changed the world, the dreamers who dared to think differently. They all had one thing in common. They trusted beyond knowing. They didn't wait until they had all the answers. They didn't wait until the plan was perfect. They moved forward anyway, and in doing so, they created breakthroughs that changed the world. Take the example of Moses in the Bible. Moses was asked to lead the Israelites out of Egypt, but he had no idea how he was going to do it. He didn't have a clear plan. He didn't have a roadmap, but he trusted beyond what he knew. And through his trust, the impossible became possible. The Red Sea parted, and a nation was set free. Or think about Abraham, who was told to leave his home and go to a land he didn't know. He didn't have all the details, but he trusted God's promise. And through his trust, the world was changed forever. Abraham became the father of many nations, and his trust in the unseen paved the way for generations to come. What if we, too, lived with that kind of trust? What if we stopped waiting for certainty and started acting in faith, trusting that even when we don't know the path, we can still walk forward? What would our lives look like if we stopped trying to control every outcome and allowed ourselves to trust the process, knowing that the answers would come in due time? Here's the bottom line. Trusting beyond knowing is the key to unlocking your greatest potential. It's the key to stepping into the future that's waiting for you. It's the key to believing that you don't have to have everything figured out to make a move. You just need to take that first step and trust that the rest will follow. I want you to remember this. Trusting is not about having all the answers. It's about taking the leap and believing that there's a greater plan in motion. When you trust beyond knowing, you step into a power that's greater than yourself. It's time to stop waiting for everything to make sense and start trusting that the journey will reveal what you need when you need it. So ask yourself today, what am I holding back because I need to know everything first? And what would happen if I trusted beyond knowing? If I took that first step into the unknown, believing that the next step would appear just when I need it? Trust is not about having all the answers. It's about believing in what you can't see. And once you do, that's when the real transformation begins. The fear of the unknown. Let's be honest about something we all experience. Fear. Fear of the unknown is one of the most powerful emotions we face as human beings. And when we are standing at the edge, looking out into the unknown, there's a part of us that wants to pull back. The fear we feel is natural. It's a defense mechanism our brains are wired with to keep us safe, to protect us from danger. Fear is a part of who we are. It's human. But here's the truth about fear. Fear is not an enemy, it's a signal. We fear what we don't understand. We fear what we can't see. We fear what we think might happen, even if there's no proof that it will. Our minds race with worst-case scenarios, and the voice of doubt and uncertainty whispers in our ears, telling us to stop, to retreat, to stay safe, and to play small. But what if I told you that fear isn't always something to run from? What if I told you that fear is a signal to push forward, not retreat? Fear is often the very thing that lets us know we are on the brink of something powerful, something life-changing, something that will stretch us beyond what we thought was possible. Fear can be a great motivator if you let it. If you lean into it instead of running from it, you begin to see it for what it truly is, a marker of growth, a signal that you are about to enter a new phase in your life. We've all heard the saying, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. It's a cliché, but it's also true. The fear of the unknown is often far worse than the reality of what's on the other side. Take a moment and think about all the things you feared in your life, whether it was taking a risk, starting something new, or making a big decision. How many of those fears turned out to be much smaller or less dangerous than you imagined? Fear is a liar. It magnifies what could happen, and it makes the unknown seem like an enemy. But when you face that fear, when you trust beyond what you can see, you often find that the thing you feared was never as big as it seemed. But I get it. Fear is real. It's tangible. When you stand at the edge of uncertainty, the mind races, the heart pounds, and the palms sweat. It's easy to let fear take over and freeze you in place. But I want to tell you this. Fear doesn't have to paralyze you. In fact, fear can be a powerful motivator when you choose to face it head-on. And you don't face it alone. Overcoming fear with trust. One of the most powerful tools we have to overcome fear is trust. Trust doesn't eliminate the fear, but it provides you with the strength and courage to move forward despite it. When you trust beyond the fear, you make a conscious decision not to be ruled by it. You make a choice to believe that what lies ahead is greater than the fear that's holding you back. I've had many moments in my life where fear tried to stop me, and I'm sure you have too. There have been times when I was faced with an opportunity or a challenge that seemed too big, too uncertain, and too risky. The fear crept in, and doubt tried to convince me that I wasn't capable, that I didn't have what it took to succeed. But here's the key. I didn't let fear paralyze me. I didn't let it define my decision-making. Instead, I chose to trust. Trust that I was prepared, even when I didn't feel ready. Trust that I had the strength and resilience to face the challenges ahead. Trust that there was something greater waiting for me on the other side of that fear. There was a time in my life when I had to take a leap of faith. I had to make a decision to step into a new chapter, but it meant leaving behind everything I knew, my comfort zone, my security, my familiar routines. I didn't know what was going to happen next. In fact, I was scared. I didn't have all the answers. I didn't know how things were going to turn out. But I trusted. And let me tell you something. Trust is a power that will carry you farther than you ever imagined. When you trust beyond the fear, you allow yourself to be carried by something greater than your own doubts. The fear may still be there, but it no longer has the power to hold you back. There's a real-life example I want to share with you. Think about Thomas Edison, the man who invented the light bulb. Edison failed thousands of times before he succeeded, and each time he faced fear, doubt, and rejection. The unknown was a constant in his life. But what if Edison had stopped every time he was afraid? What if he had let fear of failure dictate his actions? He would have never made history. But he didn't. Edison trusted beyond the unknown. He believed that each failure was a step toward success, that every setback was a lesson in disguise. He didn't let fear stop him from moving forward. And because of that, the world was changed forever. Another example is J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series. When she was writing the first book, she was a single mother living on welfare. She faced rejection from multiple publishers, and there was no guarantee that anyone would ever read her story. She had no idea if her dream would come true, but she trusted the process. She trusted that if she kept going, despite the fear and uncertainty, her vision would eventually become a reality. And now, millions of people around the world have experienced the magic of her books. Both Edison and Rowling faced fear. They faced uncertainty. But they didn't let fear stop them. Instead, they allowed trust to guide them through the unknown. They chose to believe that the unknown wasn't a place to run from, but a place to grow, to learn, and to thrive. I'm sure you can think of your own moments when you faced fear. The fear of starting something new. The fear of stepping into a bigger role. The fear of putting yourself out there, of being vulnerable, of taking a risk. But let me tell you, your dream is worth it. Your purpose is worth it. The vision that is inside of you is worth it.
And when you trust beyond knowing, you find a way through the fear.
Fear is inevitable, but it doesn't have to be the end of your journey. Fear of the unknown is natural, but it can be a powerful catalyst for growth if you let it. The key is to not let fear paralyze you. Instead, use fear as a signal to push forward, to step into the unknown with trust in your heart. Trust allows you to see beyond your fear. It gives you the courage to act, even when you don't have all the answers. Trust tells you that the journey is worth it, and the destination is more powerful than the fear that stands in your way. So the next time fear knocks on your door, don't run, don't retreat, don't shrink back. Trust beyond the fear. Take that step into the unknown, knowing that on the other side, you will find strength, growth, and purpose beyond your wildest imagination. Fear may be real, but trust is more powerful. And when you choose trust, you choose to rise above the fear and walk confidently into the future waiting for you. Faith in action. What faith without sight looks like. Faith is not always about what you can see with your eyes. In fact, true faith often requires you to walk without a roadmap, without a clear sense of where the next step will lead. Faith is not about having all the answers or being able to see the end result. It's about trusting, even when the path is unclear, and having the courage to move forward. The Bible talks about faith in a way that challenges our natural instinct. In 2 Corinthians 5:7 it says, "For we live by faith, not by sight." This verse doesn't just encourage us to believe in what we cannot see. It calls us to live by it. It's about believing in what we can't perceive with our natural senses. Faith asks us to trust that God is working even when we can't see the outcome. Many people think that faith is only about believing that something will happen, but it's more than that. Faith is about taking action in the absence of visible evidence. It's about stepping forward when the world says, "Wait, you don't know enough. You're not ready." But faith, true faith, doesn't wait for everything to line up perfectly. It steps out with confidence, even when the pieces are still scattered. This kind of faith is not passive. It's not waiting for the world to fall into place. Faith requires action. You don't wait for the whole blueprint of your life to be laid out before you. You step out, knowing that even though you can't see the whole picture, you're walking on the path God has already set for you. Faith is like a GPS system in your car. Imagine that you're driving in a new city and the GPS is telling you to turn right. You don't know exactly where that road leads, but you trust that it will take you to your destination. You don't have to see the entire highway. You only need to trust the next step, the next direction, the next turn. That's what faith in action looks like. It's trusting the journey, even when you can't see the destination. You can't wait for everything to fall into place. You must trust that God has already ordered your steps, even if you can't fully see the plan. You have to be willing to take that first step, even when you're uncertain about where it will lead. And let me tell you, there are countless times when I've had to step out in faith. I didn't know what was ahead. The road was unclear, and the challenges seemed overwhelming. But in those moments, I realized that faith wasn't about waiting for the fog to clear or for everything to be perfect. Faith is about moving forward, despite the unknown.
The importance of action.
Let me make something clear. Faith isn't passive. Faith is not about sitting around, hoping that things will change on their own. It's about actively stepping into what God has called you to do, even when you don't have all the information. Faith is a verb. It requires action, movement, and effort. It's not enough to believe. You must also act on your belief. Too many people sit on their dreams because they're waiting for the perfect conditions, for all the information, or for the path to be clearly laid out. But that's not how faith works. Faith requires you to move, even when the path is foggy. It requires you to step into the unknown, knowing that every step is guided by a higher purpose. Imagine you're standing at the base of a mountain. You have a dream to reach the top, but from where you stand it looks impossible. You can't see the whole route. You don't know where every stone or obstacle lies. But if you wait for all the signs to line up, if you wait for the conditions to be perfect, you may never take the first step. But faith, real faith, moves you forward without needing to see the whole climb. Think about it. If you're waiting for all the pieces to fall into place, you're never going to start the journey. You'll stay stuck in a cycle of analysis and fear, always wondering what could go wrong. But faith doesn't wait for everything to be clear. It moves despite the uncertainty. It says, I don't have the whole picture, but I trust that this first step is part of something bigger. Let me give you an analogy. Faith is like driving a car at night. When you're on the road, you don't need to see the entire highway. You don't have to have a full view of your destination. What do you need? You need enough light to take the next step. That's it. When you're driving at night, your headlights only illuminate a small part of the road ahead. You can't see the full journey, but you trust the headlights to guide you one step at a time. You know that as long as you keep moving, the next part of the road will eventually appear. Faith works the same way. You don't need to see the full map. You don't need all the answers. You just need enough light for the next step. That's how faith works. It's about trusting that the path will unfold as you walk. It's about trusting that you don't need the full picture. You just need to move forward with what you have. Faith in action. Walking in purpose. Let me be real with you for a moment. Faith is not always easy. It's hard to walk forward when you can't see where you're going. It's difficult to trust when the journey is unclear and the obstacles seem overwhelming. But it's in those moments that faith becomes your anchor. There's something powerful that happens when you take that first step in faith. When you step forward into the unknown, you may not see the results immediately, but you're walking in obedience to a greater purpose. God has already ordered your steps. The hard part is trusting Him enough to take the next step. It's like stepping out onto a bridge you can't see, knowing that even though you can't see the other side, you trust the structure beneath you. The bridge may not be visible at first, but with every step, it becomes more real. Faith is a choice. It's the choice to believe in the unseen and to take action, even when you don't have all the information. There are moments when we feel overwhelmed by doubt, when we feel as if we can't keep moving forward. But faith teaches us to move despite the fear. Faith teaches us to trust beyond the sight, beyond the logic, and beyond what we can understand. Remember, faith is a muscle that grows stronger with use. The more you take action in faith, the more you see God's provision and direction. You begin to realize that even when you don't have all the answers, you don't need them. You just need to trust in the next step. Faith is not about waiting for everything to fall into place. It's about stepping out, even when the path is unclear. True faith doesn't wait for the conditions to be perfect. It moves despite the unknown. Just like driving a car at night, you don't need to see the whole road, just enough to take the next step. In your own life, there will be moments when you're unsure of the next step, when you don't know where the path leads. But remember, faith is not passive, it's active. It's the courage to keep moving forward, even when you don't have all the answers. Trust the process, keep moving, and know that with every step, God is guiding you. You don't need to see the whole journey, just enough to take the next step in faith. Trusting in the process. The importance of process over instant results. In a world that's obsessed with instant results, we have become accustomed to getting what we want right away. We're used to instant gratification, whether it's through fast food, online shopping, or social media likes. We are trained to believe that everything should be quick and efficient, that success should come without delay. We want things now, and if we don't get them, we start to question whether it's worth pursuing. But growth doesn't happen in an instant. Real transformation doesn't happen overnight. If you're constantly seeking immediate results, you will miss the deeper lessons and growth that occur in the process. Let me remind you today, the value is in the process, not in the result. The process is where the real work happens. It's where you develop your character, your resilience, and your strength. It's where you become who you were always meant to be. Think about it. Nothing worth having comes instantly. Have you ever seen an oak tree grow overnight? Of course not. It begins as an acorn, and over time, it becomes a mighty tree, growing and reaching for the sky. The process of that growth involves time, patience, seasons of change, and even adversity. Growth takes time, so why should our lives be any different? There is power in the process. It's where you learn to lean into trust, to wait, and to believe even when you can't see the results right away. The process shapes you, molds you, and transforms you in ways that the destination alone never could. When we're in the midst of challenges or waiting for things to unfold, we often feel frustrated because we can't see the end result. But what if I told you that the process is just as valuable, if not more, than the end result? You can't rush growth. You can't skip the hard parts. It's in those times of waiting and struggle that you are being refined, equipped, and prepared for what lies ahead. There's a profound truth in this. You can't microwave maturity. You can't rush the development of your character, your strength, or your wisdom. It takes time, and more importantly, it requires trust. If you want to be great, you have to trust the process. You have to trust that even when things aren't moving at the pace you want them to, something significant is happening beneath the surface. You may not see the changes immediately, but that doesn't mean they're not happening. God is always working behind the scenes, refining you, preparing you, and setting the stage for the success He has planned for you. Challenges on the journey. But here's the thing, the process is rarely easy. There will be moments when things get tough, when the road is bumpy, and when it feels like you're not making any progress at all. Challenges are inevitable. Obstacles will come. There will be seasons of struggle, times when you feel like you're not moving forward, or moments when the weight of the journey becomes overwhelming. But let me ask you this. What if the obstacles you face aren't meant to stop you, but to shape you? What if the struggles are the very things that are preparing you for the success and the blessings that are coming? Every challenge you face is part of the process. Every hardship, every moment of frustration, every time you feel like giving up, these are not signs that you're failing. These are the moments when God is working on your character, building your strength, and refining your purpose. Think about a diamond for a moment. In order for a diamond to be formed, it must go through intense pressure. It's in the pressure, the heat, and the time spent under the Earth's surface that the diamond is created. Without that pressure, it remains a rough stone, hidden from its true potential. The same is true for you. The pressure you're feeling right now is part of your process. It's what's going to bring out your true brilliance. Without those moments of difficulty, you won't discover the strength, resilience, and perseverance that you have within you. Trust the process, even when it's hard. Trust that every obstacle you face is part of your growth, part of the refining fire that is shaping you into the person you are meant to be. Those obstacles aren't just hurdles, they're lessons in disguise. They teach you patience, resilience, and faith. They teach you to keep going, even when it feels like you're not making progress. There's a quote I love that says, "The pain you feel today is the strength you feel tomorrow." Every time you face a challenge, you are building the endurance and strength you need to face the next one. You may not see the results immediately, but trust me, they're coming. And when you look back, you'll realize that those tough times were the very moments that transformed you into who you are today. The purpose of waiting. So, why is waiting so important? Why does it seem like God makes us wait for what we want? Waiting isn't just about passing time, it's about preparation. In the waiting, you're being prepared for the greatness that's coming. It's not wasted time. It's God's way of getting you ready for what's ahead. It's about developing the strength and character you need to handle the blessing when it arrives. The truth is, you can't rush God's timing. His timing is perfect, even when it doesn't make sense to you. He's not just concerned with the destination. He's focused on who you become in the journey. Trusting in the process is about having faith in His timing and knowing that He is working things out for your good, even when you don't see it. Remember, the process isn't easy, but it's worth it. Every challenge, every moment of waiting, is part of the beautiful masterpiece God is creating in you. Don't despise the process. Embrace it, because it's in the process that your purpose is revealed. It's in the process that your strength is built. And it's in the process that you will see God's hand at work, molding you into the person He has called you to be. Trusting the process isn't always easy, but it's essential for your growth. The journey may not always be smooth, but each obstacle you face is part of the process. Every struggle, every hurdle, is refining you and strengthening you for what's next. So, when the road gets tough, when the waiting feels unbearable, remember, it's all part of the process. Trust that God is working behind the scenes, shaping you, preparing you for the greatness ahead. Growth doesn't happen overnight. It happens in the moments of waiting, in the moments of not knowing, and in the moments when you choose to trust in the process, even when you can't see the results right away. Trust the process, because it's leading you to something greater than you could ever imagine. Trusting yourself and your intuition. Self-trust. Have you ever found yourself standing at the crossroads of life, faced with a big decision, and feeling uncertain about which path to take? You might have sought advice from others, looked for external validation, and tried to find a blueprint that would give you all the answers. But let me tell you something. The most important voice you need to listen to is your own. You were designed to make decisions. You were created with the ability to lead your life, to trust yourself, and to rely on the wisdom that lies deep within you. Often, the answers you're searching for are not found in someone else's opinion, but in your own heart and mind. This is what we call self-trust. Trusting yourself isn't about being infallible or never making mistakes. It's about having the confidence to believe in your abilities, to listen to your intuition, and to know that you are equipped to handle whatever comes your way. Your instincts, those gut feelings, those nudges that you sometimes dismiss, are your inner wisdom guiding you. Trusting them is like tuning into a frequency that allows you to hear the guidance meant for you. We all have this inner compass, this voice that speaks to us when we're making decisions, whether big or small. But in a world filled with noise, it's easy to forget to listen to it. We become distracted by the opinions of others, by the expectations we place on ourselves, and by the desire to follow a path that's already been laid out by someone else. But the most powerful thing you can do is trust yourself. Trust that you know what's best for you, even when others doubt you, even when you can't see the full picture. Trust in your ability to make choices that align with your values, your goals, and your purpose. You were created with a unique sense of direction, and when you listen to your intuition, you are honoring the wisdom that was designed specifically for you. Self-trust is not arrogance or pride. It's the deep belief that you are capable, that you are worthy, and that you are guided by something greater than yourself. Overcoming doubt. But I know what you're thinking. I can't always trust myself. What if I make the wrong choice? That fear of making a mistake or failing can be paralyzing. And let me tell you, doubt is a natural part of life. Everyone experiences doubt. Even the most successful people have moments of uncertainty. But here's the truth. Doubt is not your destination. It's just a temporary stop along the way. The key is not to let doubt become your default. Doubt is a feeling, not a fact. It's a natural response to uncertainty, but it doesn't have to control you. The problem isn't doubt itself. It's allowing it to dictate your decisions and actions. So, what can you do to overcome doubt and start trusting yourself more? Shift your focus from fear to faith. When doubt creeps in, shift your focus to the belief that you are capable. Remind yourself of past successes, of times when you've made the right choice even when the odds were against you. Faith in yourself is the antidote to doubt. You've made it this far, haven't you? Trust that you have everything you need to take the next step. Take action in the face of doubt. The best way to overcome self-doubt is through action. When you feel uncertain, don't wait for the doubt to disappear before making a decision. Move forward anyway. Action breeds confidence. The more you take steps toward your goals, the more you'll see that you are capable of navigating challenges and making wise decisions. It's like learning to swim. You'll never know if you can float until you get in the water. Silence the negative self-talk. We all have that inner critic, the voice that tells us we're not good enough, that we're going to fail. But you don't have to listen to it. You can choose to replace negative thoughts with positive affirmations. Every time doubt tries to creep in, tell yourself, I am enough. I trust my judgment. I am capable of handling this situation. Over time, you'll begin to reprogram your mind to believe in yourself. Reflect on your past experiences. Think about the times in your life when you trusted yourself, even when you didn't have all the answers. What happened? Chances are, you were able to make it through, learn valuable lessons, and come out stronger. When you reflect on these moments, it helps build your confidence for the next decision you face. Remember, you've made it this far, and you have the wisdom and the strength to keep going. Surround yourself with encouragement. It's important to be around people who support and uplift you. Don't let the voices of doubt from others overshadow your own inner wisdom. Seek out those who believe in you and encourage your growth. Surround yourself with people who empower you to trust yourself, even when you're uncertain. Their faith in you can help boost your confidence until you can see it in yourself. The most powerful thing you can do for yourself is to trust yourself. Doubt is a part of life, but it doesn't have to control your decisions. You were created with everything you need to succeed. You have the instincts, the wisdom, and the strength to navigate whatever comes your way. The more you trust yourself, the more you'll discover the depths of your own potential. You don't need all the answers right now. What you need is the courage to make decisions, to trust in your intuition, and to move forward in faith. Don't let doubt hold you back. Trust in yourself, trust in your judgment, and trust that you are capable of creating the life you desire. So, the next time doubt tries to creep in, remember this. You were designed to lead your life. Trust the voice within you. Trust the wisdom inside you. Trust yourself, because you are enough, and you are capable of achieving greatness. Trusting beyond the present. Seeing beyond now. There are moments in life when you find yourself stuck in the now. The frustration of dealing with challenges, the weight of your current circumstances, and the pressure to find an immediate solution. It's easy to become consumed with the present moment, to focus so intensely on the struggles and obstacles that you forget there's a bigger picture unfolding. But here's the thing. What you're going through right now is not the end of your story. What you're facing today is only a chapter, not the entire book. Trusting beyond the present means having the faith that there is more to your story than what you can see right now. It means believing that the challenges you face are not in vain. They are preparing you for something greater, even if you can't see it in the moment. Think about a seed that is buried underground. The seed doesn't know when it will sprout, but it trusts that if it pushes through the soil, it will eventually break free into the sunlight. It doesn't understand the full picture, but it trusts that its purpose is unfolding beneath the surface. Similarly, you may not understand why you're going through a difficult season. You may not know when the breakthrough will come or how it will look. But trusting beyond the present requires the belief that everything you're going through is leading to something greater. In life, you will face challenges. It's part of the human experience. But those challenges are shaping you, refining you, and preparing you for what's ahead. It's easy to focus on the pain of the moment, but that's the trick. If you can lift your eyes above the pain, above the frustration, and beyond the struggles, you'll begin to see the potential that's already within you and what's waiting for you on the other side. Sometimes, you have to trust that what you're going through is preparing you for something greater, even if you can't see it right now.
The vision of a greater future.
Now, this is where faith becomes crucial. Trusting beyond the present is about embracing a vision of the future, even when the future feels uncertain or out of reach. It's about seeing beyond the immediate discomfort and believing that there is something better waiting for you. Faith is about trusting that your future is greater than your present, even when all the evidence suggests otherwise. Imagine a painter working on a masterpiece. Each stroke of the brush may seem insignificant on its own, and sometimes it might even look like a mess. But that painter knows that when all the strokes come together, something beautiful will emerge. Your life is the same way. Every struggle, every triumph, every step you take, though it may seem insignificant in the moment, adds up to a bigger picture that you can't fully see yet. When you trust beyond knowing, you're looking ahead with the eyes of faith. You're believing that the future holds something greater than what's right in front of you. It's like walking through a dark tunnel, unsure of where the end is, but trusting that the light will eventually come. Faith gives you the ability to see beyond the tunnel, to picture the light even when the darkness is all around you. This doesn't mean you ignore the present reality. You can acknowledge where you are, the struggle, the pain, the difficulty, but you don't let it define you. You don't let it steal your vision of what could be. The greatest breakthroughs often come after the most challenging seasons. What if you are just one step away from your breakthrough, but you stop walking because you can't see the light? Trust beyond what you see, and believe that there's something waiting for you on the other side. When you trust beyond knowing, you're seeing with the eyes of faith. You're choosing to look past the temporary discomforts and focus on the potential that lies ahead. You're choosing to believe that your future will be greater than your present. And here's the thing, trusting in the process, trusting in your purpose, and trusting that something greater is coming is what fuels perseverance. You might not have all the answers right now. You might not know exactly what the future holds, but when you trust beyond the present, you are opening yourself up to possibilities that are greater than anything you could imagine. You're allowing yourself to dream beyond the now, to trust that your faithfulness will lead to something greater. Trusting beyond the present is a choice. Choosing to trust beyond the present isn't always easy. It requires you to move past doubt and step out of your comfort zone. It requires you to hold on to the belief that the future holds something good, even when the present feels difficult. But when you choose trust, you're choosing hope. You're choosing to believe that you are headed somewhere good, even when you can't see it yet. The beauty of trusting beyond the present is that it doesn't matter how dark the current season is. Your trust is not based on what you see, but on the belief that something greater is on the way. Even if things feel stagnant or you're facing an uphill battle, hold on to the belief that the future holds greater things for you. Sometimes, the waiting, the struggle, and the challenges are all part of preparing you for what's next. You are being refined, strengthened, and molded into someone who can handle the greatness that is ahead of you. The challenges you face today are not permanent. They are part of your story, a story that will ultimately lead you to something much greater. So remember this, trust beyond the present. even when you can't see what's ahead. Trust that there is something greater waiting for you. Trust that your efforts, your struggles, and your perseverance are not in vain. They are part of a greater story, one that will unfold as you continue to move forward with faith. Trust beyond the present, knowing that what you're going through now is preparing you for something more. Believe with all your heart that the future will be greater than the present. And no matter how difficult today may seem, hold on to the faith that something wonderful is on its way. Trusting others. Building trust in relationships. We've talked about the importance of trusting ourselves, trusting the process, and trusting beyond the present. But now, we need to address a crucial aspect of trust that's often one of the most challenging but also one of the most rewarding: trusting others. Trust is the foundation of any meaningful relationship. Whether it's with family, friends, colleagues, or even acquaintances, relationships cannot thrive without trust. To build a community, to truly connect with others, you have to trust them. You have to believe that they will show up when you need them, that they'll step up in ways you may not expect, and that they will support you when it's difficult. Without this trust, relationships remain surface level, transactional, and ultimately unfulfilling. But with trust, you build something deeper, a connection that goes beyond the surface. Think about the relationships in your life that mean the most to you. What makes them so special? It's not just shared experiences or common interests, it's trust. When you trust someone, you feel safe with them. You trust that they will not betray you, that they will stand by your side even when things get tough. You trust that they will be there for you, even when you don't have to ask. And this trust is reciprocal. It's not just about you trusting them, but also them trusting you. Trust creates a bond that allows both people to lean on each other, to share their lives without fear of judgment or betrayal. It's a bond that nurtures growth, comfort, and security. To build a community, you have to trust others, and you have to trust that people will step up when you least expect it. Life has a way of throwing curveballs, and when you find yourself in those unexpected, difficult situations, it's the people you trust who will be the ones to step up. It's not always easy to trust people, especially when past experiences may have taught you to guard your heart. But if we only trust when it's convenient, or when people have earned every ounce of our trust, we miss the beauty of building meaningful relationships. Sometimes, trust is about stepping out in faith, believing that people can be more than their past mistakes or shortcomings. It's about believing in the best of others, even when it's hard. Vulnerability and trust. Now, let's talk about one of the most powerful and often underappreciated elements of trust: vulnerability. Trust isn't just about believing someone won't hurt you. It's also about being willing to open up and let others see the real you. Vulnerability is the gateway to true connection. It's the act of saying, "I am not perfect and I don't have it all together, but I trust you enough to show you who I truly am." In a world that often encourages us to put up walls, to guard ourselves, and to present a picture-perfect image to the outside world, vulnerability is a radical act of trust. Think about it. When you trust someone enough to be vulnerable, you are opening yourself up to the possibility of being hurt, but you are also opening yourself up to the possibility of deeper connection. Vulnerability allows others to see the real you, the messy, imperfect, beautiful version of you. It invites them into your world, into your struggles, your dreams, and your fears. And when others trust you with their vulnerability, it deepens the bond you share. Trust means being vulnerable, opening up to people, and believing they'll be there for you, even when it's hard. When you open yourself up to someone, you are allowing them to see your heart, your thoughts, and your weaknesses. It's a courageous act, and it requires faith, not just in the other person, but in yourself as well. You are saying, "I trust you with my rawness, my authenticity. I trust you with the parts of me that aren't perfect, and I believe you will handle that with care." This vulnerability also allows for growth in relationships. When we hide behind walls, we keep people at a distance, and no growth can happen in isolation. But when we trust people enough to let them in, We create an environment where both people can grow together. You may be afraid of being hurt, of being judged, or of being misunderstood. But when you trust others with your vulnerability, you give them the opportunity to show up for you in ways you never expected. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's strength. It takes strength to open up, to expose your true self, and to trust that others will honor that. When you trust someone enough to be vulnerable, you are saying, I trust you with the most precious part of me, the real me. And when others respond with care, empathy, and support, it deepens your trust in them and strengthens your bond. Trusting others, a two-way street. Remember that trust is a two-way street. Just as you need to trust others, you also need to be someone who can be trusted. You can't expect to build deep, meaningful relationships if you aren't willing to show up for others in the same way. Trusting others is about mutual respect, mutual care, and mutual vulnerability. It's about being there for others when they need you, just as they will be there for you when you need them. True trust isn't built overnight. It's cultivated through small, consistent acts of care, honesty, and reliability. It's about showing up even when it's hard and standing by each other through thick and thin. Trust grows when people feel safe, respected, and valued. So, I encourage you to reflect on the relationships in your life. Who do you trust? Who trusts you? Are you willing to be vulnerable and open up to those around you, knowing that this is the path to deeper, more meaningful relationships? Trusting others is not always easy, but it's worth it. It's the foundation upon which you can build a community that nurtures and supports you in your journey. Trust is the cornerstone of every relationship. To build a true community, you must be willing to trust others, even when it feels risky. And to do that, you must be willing to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is the gateway to deeper connections, and trust is the foundation of authentic relationships. When you choose to trust others, you open the door to deeper love, support, and understanding. And when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you invite others to truly see you, authentically and completely. This is how trust transforms relationships, and ultimately, how it transforms you.
Trust in God's timing.
We've talked about trusting ourselves, trusting the process, and trusting others, but now we need to talk about one of the most powerful forms of trust, trusting in God's timing. One of the hardest things we struggle with in life is waiting. We live in a world that celebrates instant gratification. We can order food in minutes, get news at the touch of a button, and talk to anyone anywhere in the world at the speed of light. And yet, the one thing we can never rush is God's timing. We want things to happen on our time. We want things to unfold according to our plans, according to our desires, and according to our timeline. But there's a reality we must accept. God's timing is perfect, and it often doesn't align with our own. We may want things to happen faster, and we may feel frustrated when we're in a season of waiting. But I want you to understand something important today. Every single moment of waiting is part of the greater purpose that God has for your life. When you are in that season of waiting, when it feels like things aren't moving, it doesn't mean that God has forgotten about you. It doesn't mean that your prayers are unanswered, or that your dreams are unimportant. In fact, waiting is often where the most powerful work happens. In those moments of uncertainty, in those moments of waiting, you are being prepared, refined, and positioned for what's to come.
You are learning to trust when you don't see the immediate results. You are learning to lean on God when you can't see the whole picture.
Think about the way God works. He has always been on time, even when it didn't look like it from our perspective. Think about Abraham and Sarah, waiting for the promise of a child. They waited for years, and when it seemed impossible, when they had given up hope, God made a way. Think about the Israelites, waiting for the promise of the promised land. For generations they wandered in the desert, and it took 40 years for God to bring them to the land He had promised them. But in that waiting, God was shaping them, teaching them to trust in His ways, and strengthening their faith. God's timing may not always make sense to us, but it is always perfect. Trust the wait. Trust the process. Even when things seem delayed, even when your prayers feel unanswered, trust that God is working behind the scenes in ways you can't even begin to understand. God's timing is not about speed, it's about preparation. It's about making sure that when the time comes, you are ready to step into what He has prepared for you. Letting go of control. Now, I want to talk about something that's hard for all of us to let go of: control. We live in a world where we are encouraged to control everything: our schedules, our careers, our relationships, and even our futures. But there's a powerful truth we must embrace today. You do not have control over everything in your life. In fact, the more you try to control, the more you'll miss out on the miracles that God is trying to work in your life. When you hold on to the need for control, you are limiting the possibilities of what God can do for you. When you try to make everything happen on your own timeline, you block God's ability to do what only He can do. But when you surrender that control to Him, when you release the need to micromanage every detail of your life, you make room for God to move in miraculous ways. Think about it like this. If you're constantly gripping your life, holding on to every aspect of it with all your might, you don't leave any space for God to step in. But when you let go of the need for control, you allow God to take over. You allow Him to work things out in ways that you could never have orchestrated on your own. You allow Him to bring the right people into your life at the right time. You allow Him to open doors that no man can shut and to close doors that no man can open. Letting go of control is about trust. It's about trusting that God knows what's best for you, even when you can't see it. It's about believing that He sees the bigger picture, and even if you're not sure of the next step, He is leading you exactly where you need to go. When you release your need to control every detail, you make room for God to work miracles in your life. You make room for God to do the things that are impossible in the natural world. You make room for God's miracles to unfold in ways that surpass anything you could have planned or imagined. Trusting in God's timing and letting go of control requires a shift in perspective. It's about choosing faith over fear, patience over frustration, and surrender over self-reliance. When you let go and trust that God's timing is perfect, you will find peace in the waiting. You will find joy in the journey, knowing that every step, every moment, is part of the grand design that God has for your life. I know it's hard to wait. I know it's hard to surrender control. But remember this: God is always working, even when you can't see it. Trust His timing. Trust the process. Let go of your need to control and allow God to work His miracles in your life. When you trust in God's timing, you are allowing His perfect plan to unfold in your life. And when you let go of control, you create the space for God to do what only He can do. Trust in God's timing and watch as He moves mountains in your life at the right time, in His perfect way. As we come to the end of today's powerful message, I want to take a moment to reflect on the key truths we've discussed. We've talked about trusting beyond knowing, trusting in ways that defy logic, trusting in the unseen, and trusting in the process even when the outcome is unclear. First, we explored the importance of trusting yourself. I told you that you have the power, the intuition, and the ability to make decisions, even when you're unsure. You don't need all the answers. Trust your instincts. Trust your heart. You are more than capable of stepping out in faith. Then we went deeper into trusting the process. We spoke about the power of trusting the journey, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Remember, growth doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes it's the waiting, the trials, the obstacles, and the setbacks that shape us into the person we are meant to become. Trust that every step, every challenge is moving you forward. Trust the process, and the destination will take care of itself. Next, we discussed trusting others, the importance of building authentic relationships, and how vulnerability is key to fostering real trust in the people around you. Trusting others isn't always easy. It requires faith that they will show up for you when you need them most. But remember, you are not meant to walk this journey alone. building a community of trust is essential to moving forward in life. And finally, we talked about trusting God's timing. We live in a world that pushes us to hurry up and take control. But God's timing is always perfect. When you trust that everything will unfold according to His plan, even when you can't see it, you will experience peace and a deep sense of purpose in your life. Trusting in God's timing is one of the most profound acts of faith you can ever make. Trust is the bridge between where you are and where you're meant to be. Don't let fear or doubt keep you from stepping out. Trust that the steps you take today, even in uncertainty, are the building blocks of the future you've been dreaming of. You may not see the whole staircase, but trust that each step is taking you closer to where you need to be. I want to leave you with a powerful message that I hope will stay with you. Trust beyond knowing. Trust in what you cannot see. Trust in what you cannot control. Trust that your journey, no matter how unclear it may seem right now, is leading you exactly where you are supposed to be. I know that stepping out in faith isn't always easy. I know it can feel daunting, overwhelming, and even impossible at times. But I need you to understand this. Your breakthrough is on the other side of your trust. Your future is waiting for you to step into it. But first, you have to take that first step in faith, even when you can't see the entire path. Believe that the universe, or God, will meet you as you step forward in faith. You don't have to see the full picture to take the first step. You just need to trust that the next step will lead you closer to your purpose. You don't have to wait until everything is perfect or everything makes sense. You just have to trust beyond knowing and move forward with courage. I'm going to challenge you today. Reflect on an area of your life where you need to trust more deeply. Maybe it's trusting yourself to make a big decision. Maybe it's trusting the process you're in, even if it doesn't seem to be progressing. Maybe it's trusting someone in your life or trusting that God is working in your favor, even when you can't see the results. Wherever that area is, I want you to make one decision today that requires you to trust beyond knowing. Take that first step forward, even if it feels uncertain, even if it feels scary. Act in faith, and I promise you, you will begin to see your life transform. You may not see the immediate results, but trust that every step you take in faith is moving you closer to your purpose, your vision, and the life you're meant to lead. When you take that first step, you're making a powerful statement. I trust, even though I don't have all the answers. I trust that something greater is ahead. I trust that no matter what, I am on the right path. And when you take that step in faith, the doors will begin to open. You'll begin to see opportunities you never saw before. You'll feel a sense of peace and confidence that can only come from trusting the process and trusting beyond knowing. As we wrap up today, I want you to carry this thought with you. Trust is the bridge between where you are and where you are meant to be. You don't need to see the full staircase. You just need to trust that the first step is enough. Take a deep breath, let go of the fear and doubt, and take that step in faith today. Trust beyond knowing. Your breakthrough is waiting for you. Your destiny is just on the other side of your trust. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and share where you are trusting beyond knowing in your life. What step will you take today in faith? Let's continue this conversation, support each other, and encourage one another in our journeys of faith. Thank you for joining me today. I'm believing for great things in your life as you step forward in trust. Keep moving forward. Your destiny is waiting.